All right. Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
Morning, Mr. Baskerville. Morning, Mr. Valentine.
Morning, Judge Han.
All right. We are here. Harriet, are you ready to go as well, it looks like?
Yes.
Excellent. And there's a Lenny on my screen. I'm not sure.
Yeah, that's Lenny Plimpton from my office, probably. I'm not sure if she may be dropping her kids off and unavailable to put on her camera, but I asked if she had time, maybe she could listen in.
Okay.
If that's okay with Your Honor.
Of course it's fine. No worries at all. I just wanted to make sure I knew who everybody was.
Hi, yeah, this is Lenny Plimpton. Sorry.
No
Couldn't
worries.
get my mute off for a second.
Yeah. Okay. And I see Kelly Milan hooking in as well. And Mr. Milan, you're with Sunshine Taxi, correct?
Yep.
Okay.
Yes,
Okay,
ma'am.
great. All right, then let's go ahead and get started on our pre-hearing conference. Let me call proceeding number 23A-0347CP-EXT. This is the application of MedRide LLC for an extension on its CPCN, excuse me, number 55980. Today is Tuesday, March 12th, 2024. It's 9 o'clock, well, now 9:02 a.m. And we are here for a pre-hearing conference in advance of the evidentiary hearing that is scheduled for next Tuesday, March 19th. Could I first have appearances, please?
Sure, Henry Baskerville and Lenny Plimpton for the petitioner.
Thank you, Mr. Baskerville.
And Mark Valentine from the law firm Keys and Fox on behalf of Tasco.
Great. Thank you both for being here. All right. I called this pre-hearing conference because I wanted to discuss some logistics for next week's hearing. Right now, we are scheduled to have the hearing held in person in Grand Junction. And I just wanted to discuss, first of all, some issues about the logistics of doing that because, well, quite frankly, we haven't had an in-person hearing in a while. And second of all, because Mr. Baskerville indicated that he might not be able to make this trip, in which case I think we need to consider other options. So before we get into logistics of how this is going to proceed, I'd first like to hear from Mr. Baskerville about, A, can you make this drive? And if not, what are your options? And, I'll be honest, if there's any concern that this is going to impact somebody's health, I'm inclined to put this remote. So let me hear from Mr. Baskerville first, what you're thinking.
Sure, Your Honor. I mean, can I make the drive? Yes, it is theoretically possible. The issue that I'm facing is over the last, I don't know, couple months, my health has been pretty bad. As I explained to Mr. Valentine, I got diagnosed with a IBS, which is the least of my problems, frankly, but they're trying to figure out something is attacking my immune system. They think I have an autoimmune disease, which, if you don't know, apparently it's extremely hard to diagnose what it is. I'm also dealing with a sinus and throat issue that they think is part of the autoimmune disease, which makes it very difficult to sleep. So I'm getting like a couple hours of sleep per night and not in a row. So it makes it hard to work long days, and it makes it even harder to sandwich in between a full day hearing a 4-hour drive in each direction. So, I mean, I appreciate that the respondent wants the hearing to occur, in market or whatever, but I don't really understand what that even means. I mean, as Your Honor just said, you guys have been doing virtual hearings for years now, as have many other courts. I've tried multiple multi-day cases over Zoom, never a jury, but judge cases. And here, I just don't understand. Who cares whether it occurs in Grand Junction or not? If we were choosing a jury in Grand Junction and you wanted a jury of peers, that I get. But we're not. We're going to be hearing from the same argument from me and Mr. Valentine, whether we are on Zoom or in person in Grand Junction. You're going to be deciding the facts, whether you're on Zoom or in Grand Junction. We're going to have witnesses. The same witnesses will testify whether on Zoom or in Grand Junction. And I think we've all had enough experience with Zoom by now that it's not hard to assess the credibility of a witness over Zoom. It's something that Your Honor, I'm sure, has become accustomed to doing and can do just as well as in person. So while I appreciate I appreciate that Mr. Milan probably lives in Grand Junction and would prefer to have the hearing in person there, to me, the benefit of doing that is so minimal when considered with all three of us having to do a 4-hour drive each direction there, not to mention that it's going to be difficult for me. The other problem is, which has nothing to do with anybody here, I unfortunately have a different evidentiary hearing in Denver the next day. So I'm going to have to do this whole hearing, drive back to Denver, get back whenever we get back, and then do the whole thing over again. And it's going to be a lot of tax on me getting, 3 hours of sleep at night.
Okay. Thank you so much, Mr. Baskerville. I certainly appreciate your comments and perspectives. And let me next hear from Mr. Valentine. What is your position and your client's position on this?
Well, I mean, I think we've made our position clear. I understand where Mr. Baskerville is coming from, and I certainly don't want to cause him any further health issues. This case has been put off once, and that's not due to TASCO. And I understand that it took a while for Ms. Plimpton and Mr. Baskerville to sort of get with their client and figure out exactly what was going on. That's not our concern. Mr. Milan does live in Grand Junction, and the commission has been trying to get back to in-person hearings for quite some time. I always ask for an in-person hearing because I think it's better. I disagree with Mr. Baskerville about seeing live witnesses versus seeing witnesses on Zoom. That's my opinion. So we would ask for the hearing to be held as scheduled.
And to be clear, I'm not asking to move the hearing. And I know that Mr. Valentine mentioned, well, maybe Ms. Plimpton could handle the entire hearing, and she's here today. And with all due respect to Ms. Plimpton, she's a great young lawyer. She's never handled an evidentiary hearing by herself. If it is over Zoom, I would very much like for her to be able to examine maybe one or more of our witnesses. If it's in Grand Junction, that's probably not going to happen because it doesn't make sense for our client to pay 2 lawyers to drive to Grand Junction. And it's just not something that I think she could handle by herself.
And I guess I would make one other comment, Judge Han, which is I understand the scheduling issue about Mr. Baskerville having an evidentiary hearing the next day here in Denver, and that shouldn't weigh in this decision.
I'm not suggesting that it should. I'm just suggesting that, as Mr. Valentine said, the commission has been trying to get back to evidentiary hearings for a while. That I appreciate. In light of the circumstances and my issues, I don't know that this case needs to be the one.
And okay, thank you both. Let me weigh in on a few things for you also to consider. First of all, yes, the commission is trying to do some more hearings in person. However, there really haven't been that many. The vast majority of commission hearings have been fully remote and have gone perfectly smoothly. So I would disagree with you, Mr. Valentine, that it's more difficult to weigh witness credibility and assess evidence over Zoom. From my perspective and the perspective of most of the litigants that come before the PUC, it's gone extremely smoothly. So I appreciate that there might be a perception out there that it goes better in person, but I would say that I and perhaps some of the other ALJs don't agree. We've found that it's gone very well, fully remote. I'd like to point out, in this forum, this virtual forum, I'm able to get video recording and I have my legal assistants to help me. I won't have any of that from Grand Junction. I'll bring some audio recording equipment with me, but we won't be able to webcast it. I have no video equipment out there. I'm not going to profess to be any kind of audio equipment expert because I'm not.
Judge, yeah, and I don't mean to make this more complicated than than it is. I mean, Mr. Milan is ready to go in Grand Junction, and that's the way we've been preparing for this case, because that's how it's been scheduled, and it's been scheduled this way for months. I certainly, if you think that you have better resources here in Denver, I
think we do, but that's not the issue. We are all set to go in Grand Junction. I've got a room ready to go. It's reserved. I'll bring the audio equipment with me. My bottom line, though, if Mr. Baskerville is ill, I'm not going to force anyone to drive, 600 miles round trip when I'm looking at, Tasco's witness list and you have one witness, Mr. Milan. So we're literally driving all the way to Grand Junction for one witness. I don't know that that's right.
And that's fair enough, Your Honor. As I indicated earlier, we certainly don't want to cause Mr. Baskerville's health to deteriorate any further. If you think that this case should be Zoom, I think that's fine. What
I don't think is that I don't think we should be jeopardizing anyone's health. And,
as I just said, I agree with that. So,
Mr. Milan, let me hear from you directly. You are on this computer, you are watching this hearing, and I guess I'd like to get your perspective. Are you having trouble participating in this proceeding online? I can see you. I think you're listening. So how do you feel?
Yeah, Zoom is certainly an effective tool. Our philosophy was the applicant is trying to make a case for this authority in this market. And so context and actually seeing the market, I think, makes an impact in the argument. And again, I'll echo Mark's comments. I certainly don't mean to put you, Mr. Baskerville, in any bad position. I regret that part. Look, if it's going to be Zoom, we'll manage. I just felt it would help people understand the context of the application. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Milan. I appreciate that. And I guess let me assure you that if we are via Zoom, I will hear all the evidence. I will listen to everybody. I will see your exhibits. They will be presented on screen. And if we are in Grand Junction, it's not like we're going to stop the hearing and walk around outside. So I guess at this point, given Mr. Baskerville's illness, I'm inclined to switch it to Zoom. I'm not going to postpone it because I don't, as Mr. Valentine correctly said, this has been postponed already once, and I'm not inclined to do it again. We need to get this over and done with. But I'm concerned that, I don't want to get there and find out that Mr. Baskerville is suddenly ill and can't proceed or couldn't make it because he was too ill. That would be a hardship on everybody and would cause us to postpone it yet again. So as a means of trying to avoid that happening, I'm inclined to switch to a fully remote Zoom hearing. So I guess if you have a vehement objection, please tell me right now, Mr. Milan, but if not, this is what I'm thinking that I think is better for Mr. Baskerville and to give us an assurance that the hearing is more likely to proceed on Tuesday.
I'm agreeable.
Okay, wonderful. All right, then I'm going to issue then. Let's move on then talking about a few other things. Since I'm going to issue an order moving this to a fully remote hearing so that we can ensure that it goes smoothly next week and we don't have to jeopardize Mr. Baskerville's health further or risk having to postpone it because of Mr. Baskerville's health. I think that would be a worse situation.
Thank you, Your Honor.
You're welcome, Mr. Baskerville. But given that does mean we need to change some issues, some of the ways the exhibits are going to be presented. I'm going to issue an order as quickly as I can probably not today because it does have to get written and go through, channels. But I will make that change. We will have to do exhibits remotely. You've already got them filed online in the e-filing system, so I thank you all for that. The way we do it is we set up the box.com folders. I know Mr. Valentine is familiar with it, and I'm pretty sure you are as well, Mr. Baskerville. My legal assistants, who are fabulous, Casey and Stephanie, will set that up, and then you'll just take the exhibits and upload them to those files in advance of the hearing. And then she'll just be able to pull them up out of there on the day of the hearing and exhibit them on the screen for everybody to see and to share. The exhibits should be labeled with the case name, the case number, or the proceeding number, the exhibit number, and whose exhibit it is. That way it'll be very clear. But just put it as a header on the document itself. And that way we can make sure that they're all kept straight. Casey just let me know that there are 3 hearings going at that moment because there is a commission hearing at the same time. So I think we should still be able to run things. I guess, Casey, can you pop on for a second? And
yeah, I wasn't sure if you wanted me to interrupt or rather I ping you. So yeah, the hearing room A and hearing room B are taken on Tuesday for the commission hearing. Mm-hmm. And there's a public comment hearing starting at 11:30 as well.
Okay.
You could put it in the hearing room C account. Yeah. Mm-hmm. There will just be somewhat of a shuffle with court reporters and also legal assistants. We'll have to figure something out. Okay. So just letting you know that. And also, of course, it's totally possible that
Can I just say one thing? I thought that the last day of the public service hearing was Monday. And then on Tuesday, no, nothing was. That was just what I saw on the calendar. Maybe.
Nope, it's scheduled on Tuesday too. I was going to say it might end. You might get lucky and it ends early, but it's scheduled until Tuesday.
Yeah, I see that. That's the commission public service clean heat hearing. And then, like Casey said, there's a public comment hearing starting at 11:30. Now, our hearing is starting at 9, so we may even be done by 11:30. That's also possible. Do you think it's possible to balance everything, Casey?
I wouldn't put this in the same hearing room as the other one in case.
No, we can go with C, right? That's not a problem.
Yeah, I think that would be fine. Well, like I said, it will really be with me and Stephanie that will be the harder part, but we'll figure it out.
Okay. Well, right. Maybe we can train Laura. All right. So sorry about that, everyone. We had to manage a few logistics for our proceeding here, our hearings, which is another thing. You can see that the commission is incredibly busy lately, and there's a lot going on, which also weighs on me. Okay. But we will plan on 9 a.m. on Tuesday, the 19th. I guess unless you want to do it Monday. Monday, there's only the one clean hearing. Would that be better, Casey?
Would be better for us, but I don't know if it works for them.
We're set for Tuesday, unless you want to move it to Monday, the 18th, which would actually work on my calendar.
I can do Monday the 18th, but I don't know whether our witnesses can.
It's overly complicated.
If you want to consider that, we can try to get a hold of them quickly, although probably not during this hearing.
No, let's just stick with 9 a.m. on the 19th, if that's okay. And then we'll figure it out. Don't worry. It's a question of making sure we have somebody available on our end to help share exhibits and stuff and pull things up. So worst case scenario, I'll figure out how to do it myself. All right. Does it sound good?
That sounds fine. Did you want to talk about the petitioner's plan in terms of how the hearing would go and presentation of evidence and so forth?
Yes, I do want to get a nice, that will also help us plan things out. So give me an idea of how long you think things will run.
Sure. So my intention was to do a very short opening statement, unless you don't think that's necessary.
I think it's helpful. It's helpful to me, honestly.
Okay, so I could do that in 10, 15 minutes probably,
Okay.
unless Mr. Valentine wants longer. I assume he'd want to do something as well. And then our intention is, we identified 4 witnesses. Probably would not call them all. Our primary witness will be our client representative, whose name is Tyler or Lazari.
Where's Larry? Okay.
I think he testifies 45 minutes to an hour at the very most, would be my guess. He'll just talk about MedRide, what they do, why they're applying for this license. An hour is probably more than will be needed, but I'd rather overestimate than under. And then we identified 3 other witnesses who are from local companies, local like Medicare companies or medical companies. I shouldn't say Medicare.
Okay.
And they would each testify for 15 minutes, and we probably won't call all 3 of them, about why MedRide getting this license would be helpful to their business and why they think it's needed. And then if Your Honor would like some sort of kind of closing remarks, a lot of times, when it's just a judge case, judges say they don't think that's necessary. But if you'd like that, I'd be happy to do that as well. I presume
The option.
I presume Mr. Valentine will call Mr. Milan. I would ask, some brief time to cross-examine him. But this is certainly something, in my view, that can be done in less than a day.
Okay. What you just described sounds like about 2.5 hours worth. Fair?
Probably, yeah.
Okay.
I'd maybe say 3, because things always, you may have some glitches with the exhibits, or people have to take a break or whatever. But yeah, I think we could probably be done maybe before lunch, if not shortly after.
Okay. Mr. Valentine, what are you thinking about time?
Thinking about what Mr. Baskerville suggested.
Okay.
As Your Honor noted, we have Mr. Milan, and that's it. I will have some cross-examination for witnesses. That won't be surprising, but I think that we can probably get this done in less than a day.
Perfect. Okay. And I'm going to ask both of you, I assume all your witnesses will have the capability to appear remotely. Just about
Yes.
everybody does. So that shouldn't be an issue. We've talked about exhibits. I will send out the general PUC hearings attachment B, which describes how to do it, if you have any questions. And then, I'm perfectly happy to allow people time to closing arguments, because there's always something you want to say at the end, which is great. But then, you'll have your statements of position to sum up everything else. All right. What else do I need to know? Anything?
I can't think of anything else.
Any other motions or anything anything like that you want to address before we convene next week?
No, Your Honor, not from the petitioner's perspective.
Mr. Valentine?
Or from TASCO.
Okay, great. Mr. Milan, anything you want to add while you're on?
No, ma'am, thank you.
Okay. All right, then. So I'm going to issue an order. We're going to switch this to a fully remote hearing for the reasons I stated already. I will also issue, as part of that order, the instructions for how to do the exhibits remotely. And we will be appearing remotely in this forum. Look for the link. You may have figured out, we have basically 3 channels to choose from attached to hearing room A, B, and C. So ours will be from hearing room C. And we will make sure that we have the personnel available to display exhibits and run things smoothly. Any other questions for me?
No, I don't, nothing from the petitioner, Your Honor. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Valentine, anything else?
No, Your Honor, thank you.
All right. Thank you all for being here. Mr. Milan, thank you for being cooperative. Like I said, my first priority is people's health and safety, and I just don't I think would be jeopardizing holding the hearing in a timely fashion if we risk, driving 4 hours each way and Mr. Baskerville gets sick. I think that's an entirely possible situation. I don't want that to happen.
Completely understand.
Thank you, Mr. Mylan. I really do
Of course.
appreciate your kindness
course.
and cooperation in that.
Thank
All
you.
right,
everyone.
then. All right. Thank you all for being here. Appreciate it. I will notify everyone on our end that we're switching the formats and look for my order in the next few days. We are adjourned.
Thank you.
Court reporters, thank you too.
And the court reporters,
Thank
thank you too for being cooperative.
Yes.
As I said, like
very much.
we're kind of overloaded, so one less day on the road for them is actually a good thing.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
Thanks.
All right. Thank you
Thank
all.
you.
Thank you for being cooperative. See you next week.